The final thing I want to ask about, like, that's like in the outside world, like that's not really Elbaf centered, but I feel like Oda might implement it. Is what are your whole thoughts on the whole cross guild situation going on here? Because look, like they're a new Yonko crew, and how do you think Oda is going to implement them in the final saga? Because Elbaf's still a final saga arc, so how does he implement cross guild with everything that's going on? Because we know Blackbeard's connected to the revolutionaries and this Holy Knights as well, and the Celestial Dragons with Lafitte watching over, and Blackbeard's connected to Shanks, and Shanks is connected to Elbaf. Like everything is connecting, but I don't know where cross guild comes into this because I feel like cross guild are a major component to the final saga. I think Oda is not just like pushing them to the side, but I don't know what he's gonna do with that group just yet. So that's what I was gonna ask you, like, where do you see cross guild when it comes to if are they gonna have any impact on Elbaf? And I'll ask you two questions actually. I'll combine these questions: Cross Guild and the Marines, because Akanu's definitely like we're seeing some stuff with Akanu too with Kizaru and that whole conversation. Like Kizaru saying, "Have you ever killed a close friend?" and like pretty much telling him to come to see what he's done. And I feel like that was really cool because Akanu apologized to Kizaru, which is like just crazy. The fact that he did that, Akanu was really showing his human side more and more. Like because everyone hated him at the Marine Fort, so Akanu's a fleet admiral. He's part of the Marines. What do you think the Marines and Cross Guild? Like, I want to ask you that real quick and how it connects to Elbaf.
So, I'm gonna say in regards to Cross Guild, the three characters that are consistently always leveling up together, quote unquote, are Kobe, Luffy, and Buggy. From the beginning of the series until now, through notoriety, through following, through maturity, through multiple different aspects, Kobe, Luffy, and Buggy have always paralleled each other in regards to their journeys. So I feel like Luffy coming out of Elbaf is obviously going to be an established, dignified Yonko that is going to be well respected around the world. As like he is 100%. Like if somebody doubted it back whenever they initially made that decision back in Wano, they're not going to doubt it anymore after this arc. Like this, conquering the Warland is going to be similar to what happened with Shanks and Loki. This is going to be Luffy's opportunity to be able to do just that as well. And so if this is going to be Luffy's opportunity to do that, we're assuming that Kobe is going to attempt to get Garp back from Blackbeard. So he's going to have a major outside of the world arc as well for his end. So a major arc for Luffy, major around the world segment for Kobe. That means Buggy's going to have an unbelievable Elbaf / around the world section. If we look at Buggy's the last thing that we saw him in a prominent sense was his declaration that he wants to One Piece and he wants to be King of the Pirates in 1082. And we're going to have to see that on full display at some point around the world, which means he's going to have to the Cross Guild is either going to have to come across someone crazy, like, you know how they're out there hunting Marines right now. They might come across someone insane, like an admiral or something, maybe crosses paths with like Green Bull or something, and we see how Buggy, Mihawk, and Crocodile take care of the situation at hand. I do think it'll be around the world. I don't see Buggy meeting up with Luffy again until they get to Laugh Tale, so I'm expecting them to stay away from Elbaf, but I think their impact will be felt without question. Like I said, their journeys parallel each other. They've always paralleled each other. So the higher Luffy and Kobe go, the higher Buggy's going to go. So I think he's going to have an extremely big arc, whether, like I said, around the world wise. And that leads us into the Marines. Sword is going to be very key, especially with the Garp scenario. I don't know whether Oda wants to pay that off soon with what's happening over in with Garp and Blackbeard, and considering, like you said, if Blackbeard and Shanks potentially have a battle. The other key figure that's there, obviously, is Katakuri and the Big Mom Pirates, which we're expecting Big Mom to show up on Elbaf, and Katakuri, who obviously wants to go save his sister, who's with, and get revenge on Blackbeard for taking over Whole Cake Island. So there's a lot of different elements of potential surprise, where maybe they go, instead of going to Elbaf, they go for Blackbeard to go get Pudding back, and in the midst of that, maybe the Marines show up as well, and you have chaos on Blackbeard's plate, where he's got to deal with Shanks, the Marines, and the Big Mom Pirates. And so there's a lot of different scenarios there, but I feel like the Marines are going to be at the core of it, where they know that if the Holy Knights are moving, then Dragon's going to move as well. And we know that Akainu and Dragon have some sort of heat and backstory that's been cooking for a very, very long time. Egghead was an extremely huge arc for the OG Admirals, and this may be an arc for the new Admirals, which means we may see something big here with Green Bull and Fujitora in some way, shape, or form, whether it be through character moments and through like some major battles or whatever. I could see them getting something big happening in regards to their side of this as we head into the final saga, because the Admirals, what we got from Kuzan, from the OG Admirals, from Kuzan, Kizaru, and Akainu in Egghead was sensational for character moments for all three. It was just fantastic. So following that up with more Marine greatness, obviously I already said we're going to get the Kobe stuff, but as they get ready for what's about to be the biggest war in the history of the series, which is that final war for the One Piece, the Marines are either going to be on the way to a Lodestar or to a Elbaf to try to take matters into their own hands, which means they're going to be sending a whole bunch of individuals for Buggy and Luffy and Blackbeard and Shanks, or Akainu's going to take a different route and instead is going to go after the Revolutionary Army. I'm unsure, but I know he's going to make a move very, very soon. Because Akainu has been sitting in that chair for far too long, and I feel like at this point, that cigar is about to break one last time, and that his fuse is about to break, and the dude is about to send out a massive fleet to go compete with what the Emperors are currently doing right now. Because like you said, going back to that panel, Oda specifically told us the 12 characters that are going to be in the hunt for the One Piece, and each and every single one of them have to have a prominent role here around the world and in Elbaf to let us know what we can expect in the final war. And Akainu's the biggest player within the Marines. Something has to happen here, bro. It has to happen. And so I expect them fully to make a move very soon.
Yep, I 100% agree. Like the whole first of all, the whole cross guild, like I also want to say this, like I've noticed the fans are starting to gravitate towards Scoffer Gabon, and like if that's him on Elbaf or not, and like if Buggy being the leader of a Yonko crew, like he has a relationship with Scoffer Gabon as they used to be on the same crew. So Buggy definitely is, like, his reputation stands through and through since like his connection to the Roger Pirates. And so just like Shanks, he definitely has like a case. That's why his crew is so loyal to him. They feel like, yes, we know your history and we respect your history. So I feel like I agree with you. I don't think Buggy's gonna come to Elbaf, but I wouldn't mind seeing Buggy interact with Luffy, two Yonkers direct, like that know each other from back in the day, kind of like we saw Big Mom and Kaido during Wano. You could definitely see that with Luffy and Buggy, but it can definitely happen on Laugh Tale as well. And then with the whole situation of the Marines, I think the problem, the situation of the Marines is like, I want to see them on Elbaf, but a lot of Marine things right now is endgame. And I think Oda really did that with the whole Vegapunk message. Like the Vegapunk message was the trigger for now the Marines have an end game to stop these guys. Like when it comes to the revolutionaries and the pirates that are really causing chaos. So I feel like now they have a reason to go all out. Like Akaino's been, you're right, he's been chilling with that cigar. So they have a big reason to go all out. And they can definitely send forces to Lodestar. They can even try to get the Road Poneglyphs and try to get the Laugh Tale if they want to. And I feel like when it comes to the Marines, Green Bull is definitely a player too, because Oda's trying to expand Green Bull's character, Fujitora as well. And like honestly, I feel like the Marines, Kobe is going to be that end game when it comes to the Marines, because he's trying to stop Luffy from getting the One Piece. So I feel like Kobe is more so after Elbaf, but we can definitely see some moves be made with the Admirals and Akainu. And Smoker's already on the move. So I think if we're going to have a Marine component in Elbaf, I wouldn't mind having Smoker be that Marine component, because Smoker is one of those OGs from back in days, from Lockdown all the way to Alabasta. So I feel like Smoker definitely has improved after his like showing in Punk Hazard. And just how we saw so many other characters improve, I think Smoker is definitely going to improve as well as Hockey's Delfruit and Luffy's Yonko. We saw Rob Lucci, how he improved. He became awakened. So I think Smoker, a lot of people give him flack for like how he was showing, but I think he definitely is going to improve. We know he's been hanging out with Vegapunk, so that definitely something can go on with his powers and whatnot. But I think Smoker, it's not really his powers, it's more so who he is as a character, how he's one of the first guys who stood up to the Marines and the system during when they wanted to give him credit for Alabasta and Crocodile. So I think Smoker is going to be that Marine component where he's actually aiding Luffy in Elbaf rather than going against Luffy. And I would definitely love to see that. Honestly, I feel like Kizaru and Rob Lucci were kind of shaky when it comes to their beliefs, when it comes to the A-Cat Island. So I feel like Smoker, I don't know, what are your thoughts? Have you ever thought about Smoker being that component in Elbaf? What do you think?
Dude, I have not thought about that. I think that's such a cool idea. Let's, Mac, after we heard about the God Valley incident and we heard about the legends of Garp and Roger fighting together, I thought of so many different scenarios of what that would look like in the modern time. And obviously the Egghead incident was huge, but Luffy was fighting against the Marines, but there was cracks, like you said, in their systems and beliefs. Lucci was questioning it from the very beginning of the arc with like Lucia stuff, and especially later on. Kizaru was the entire arc very conflicted, and so they never had the opportunity to fight together. So I think what's going to be really interesting, especially now that Kobe has declared that he wants to fight against Luffy, is when are we going to see that Luffy, because we know Oda loves his parallels with like the past and the present, who is going to be that when something crazy happens, that Marine in that one particular battle, that maybe they arrive attempting to fight against Luffy, and then they end up fighting with him because they want to prioritize the citizens or whatever. And I think Smoker fits that role so well because they have known each other for such a long time. And so to have Luffy and Smoker working together in an Elbaf setting that obviously is already calling back to the beginning of the series as is, but then you bring in a character like this, a Marine whom, by the way, going back into the lore of Elbaf and Big Mom's flashback, a lot of Marines originated from this island, right? Like the Marine system, thanks to the Mother Caramel stuff, is very, very deep within the core of this, thanks to the Big Mom stuff. And so having a quote-unquote good Marine, an individual who actually practices what he preaches and is on the side of justice that aligns more with the with what the old generation of Elbaf believed in, specifically like the warriors. I think that would be really interesting to see as well from that potential side of things, because maybe there is a section of Elbaf that are training warriors, Marines, as we've seen, like back in Eddie's lobby with the Oimonkashi stuff, for example, or like with Saul, who wanted to become a Marine, and we saw the repercussions / the rebellion that happened there as whenever he saw like the actual what actually goes on within the system itself. And so we know there's ties between Giants and the Marines, and so to have someone to be like a stakeholder in promising Giants that yes, there is a good future for the Marines out there, specifically for the Marines and the Giants. So maybe there's some Giants that'll be like, yeah, I want to be a pirate, but maybe there's other Giants like Saul who are going to be like, you know what, I want to be a Marine like Smoker. And so when they see Luffy and Smoker fighting together, we'll have like a One Piece fan letter situation where we have a Marine inspired by a pirate and that are fighting side by side, and thus inspires the other people within the island to go out and do what they want to do as well. I think that could be a really beautiful message.
Yeah, I like that. I like the sound of that. The way you just did that sound, I could see Smoker, like the way I was actually seeing the moments, like the feel-good moments between Smoker and Luffy because of their history. And I feel like also Smoker's Delphu and the whole island cloud, like you could definitely do something there too. Like, so I feel like there's definitely a place for Smoker and Elbaf that could help with the whole Saul situation, like you mentioned, and the Giants being less violent than their history says. So, and then the whole Mother Caramel aspect as well. So I love it, honestly. But yeah, honestly, I feel like that's great what we just talked about when it comes to Cross Guild and the Marines and overall Elbaf in general. I don't know, do you have any like final statements like before, because it is the beginning of the arc, so there's only so much we could talk about, but I feel like we kind of touched the bases on a lot of things. But any like final statement on your thoughts with where Elbaf's gonna go and how Elbaf is so far? Like any final thoughts?
Yeah, so I guess the final thing would be obviously loving the arc so far. I still can't believe we're here. You know what I'm saying, Mac? Like, man, how did we get here, bro? Elbaf, holy crap, you know? I can't believe we're here, dude, 10 chapters in. But I guess, going back to Skypiea, right? Obviously, within that arc, we got one of the most legendary flashbacks in the Nolan Calgara flashback. And I truly believe, Mac, especially after last chapter, that the way they're building up Nika in this way, was he a destroyer? Was he a savior? It reminds me of the Nolan stuff from back in the day, where we really didn't know until we got to see him with our own eyes. Mac, I think this is going to be the arc where we get a Nolan Kalgara flashback, but with Nika. I think Elbaf is going to be the arc where we get the origins, well, one of the origin stories of One Piece. We get to see, similar to the Mont Blanc Norland and Kalgara flashback, and how that fleshed out the 400-year ago period, but also made so many things make sense within the world of Skypiea. I think the Nika flashback that we potentially could be getting here will be the Mont Blanc Nolan flashback of Skypiea, and it's going to make so many things make sense, both within why the giants are so valued all around the world, why Emu feared them, why the world government wants to clone them. So many different things are going to make sense after that flashback, but I think more importantly, we're going to be able to understand as the viewers this Nika situation, and why Vegapunk said at the end of his message, who was actually the good guys back in that time period. Was it the Joy Boys, or was it the 20 Kings that they fought against? I think we'll be getting more clues towards the actual answers, just like we got in the last chapter with, was Nika a destroyer? Was he a hero? Was he a savior? When we see the flashback, we'll be able to make those answers ourselves. And I do think that is going to happen in this arc, because after this arc is going to be Void Century, and we know that's going to be for Joy Boys period. So if there's ever been a point for us to get the origin story of One Piece and the original dude that was behind so much of this in Nika, I think this is the time, and what better way than a Nolan Kalgara-esque flashback.
Yeah, I like the sound of that, because Nolan Kalgara is one of my favorite flashbacks. It's so connected to Skypiea as a whole, and the story as a whole too. And with the whole Louis Arnold aspect of it, I definitely feel like we could definitely get that with Nika. And it definitely helps the Joy Boy flashback as well, the Void Century one. So like if you flesh out Nika's origins, and then you go into Joy Boy, and then you go into Luffy in the present time, that would be a great idea in my personal opinion, if Oda wants to go that direction. And I feel like as a fan, I'll be like, yo, I'm actually witnessing this. Like Oda's actually showing this. It would kind of feel like, okay, now we're getting closer and closer to One Piece finally finishing. Because yeah, you're right, we're finally at Elbaf, and it feels crazy that we're actually here in this arc. Even the Straw Hats felt it, like Usopp and Luffy were like, yo, we finally did it, we finally got to Elbaf. It's been since Little Garden that they've been trying to get to this arc. So yeah, honestly, I love that idea of that flashback. And me personally, when it comes to final thoughts, I'm loving Elbaf. Honestly, it's giving me the Skypiea vibes, and I feel like I really want Oda to take his time with this arc. I feel like there's no rush. And honestly, I feel like if it goes with one of those arcs where it's not that centered to the overall story, when it comes to like overall, it's gonna be overall to the overall story, but the actual arc is like a lot of things contained, I wouldn't mind that as well. Like kind of how Skypiea was, like, because like they were in the middle of nowhere in Skypiea. So I feel like we still gotta see that Heaven Realm, and Elbaf is just beginning. So definitely these are a lot of early takes. I feel like if we make an exact same discussion at the end of Elbaf, our minds are going to be in completely different places. So honestly, loving Elbaf so far, and I can't wait to see where Oda goes with this.